Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Backlot Banter. My name is Tucker Hazel, and today I'm joined by my co-host who's wearing way too many clothes for my taste, Tanner Dykstra, and today we're here to talk about The Naked Gun. Part 4, reboot, whatever, legacy sequel, doesn't really matter. It's a new Naked Gun movie with Liam Neeson this time. We're here to give you our thoughts on this new theatrical comedy. Tanner Dykstra, here's the question, hypothetical, posing it to you. Should people join the Discord server and like the video and comment and subscribe?
You know what, Tucker? I don't want them
Whoa,
to do
ooh, a little reverse psychology.
reverse psychology.
Oh, okay.
But
Let's see if it works.
please don't do that. No, don't, God. Yeah. Okay,
Tanner?
okay. Well, and now we wait.
Oh, we baited the trap. Yes.
Yes.
Tanner, what did you think of The Naked Gun?
Oh, Tucker, you know what, baby? Comedy's legal again. Come on now. Just fucking around. But no, this is a great film. Tucker, I had a great time. The most I've laughed consistently in the theater, maybe in my entire theater-going lifetime. Like, it is just kind of a different
Tanner, we saw
type
Jackass
of movie.
Forever together.
That's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. But Jackass Forever is also just like a very unique subset of movie that, only the Jackass guys are really making. But then you look at Naked Gun and it's like, this is a type of movie that hasn't been made in however many years at this point. And they're sort of going to be bringing like the parody send-up movie, just totally absurd comedy back with maybe like a Scary Movie 6 coming out next year. But no, this is in the lineage of the Zucker, Abrams, and Zucker films, Airplane, the Naked Gun trilogy, of course, all films that I really adore, and I also really like the new Naked Gun film. Plenty of great gags that we can dig into, really good performances, central performances from Liam Neeson and Pamela Anderson, and some really fun supporting roles as well, and just really committed to the type of comedy that made those classic parody movies that everybody loves sing so much, and like steering away from the kind of ironic or not even satirical, but like, obviously this movie has cameos in it, but like cameo-laden like comedy movies that we've been getting, especially this decade, a little bit. I just think that it's really refreshing to see something like this executed on this level and in the theatrical landscape, as opposed to being like a streaming release or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. I think what sets this movie apart. I also really like this movie. It's a lot of fun. I think that it's well written. There's good in terms of the jokes. I think that that the story of the movie is actually really dumb, and I think and not in a positive way. Not in a positive way. I'm gonna get into that.
Okay.
But I do like this movie quite a bit. But the thing that sets it apart is that there are practical gags in this movie. I was thinking as I was seeing these coffee gags and the like claw machine gag and like people in the background holding signs and like the thing on the police squad door is painted like half one way and half the other way. I'm like, there are practical visual gags that are happening in the background of scenes, and I honest to God cannot remember the last time I saw a comedy that was doing practical gags in this way. Comedies for most comedies in general, but are about comedic timing, about punchlines. This movie is doing a very different comedic style where it's not about punchlines, but a punchline is like punching you in the face with a joke. It's not usually too much set up to then get to a joke. They just do the joke. They do the gag immediately. And it gives it this really like roller coaster feel of like not knowing what's going to come next. And that gives it a really, really fun energy. I think that it feels like an awkward balance in places to me, because I do think that there are some moments where the movie takes its own drama a little too seriously. I'm like, no, don't do that. Stop. Get out of here.
Really?
But, I don't know, primarily with the villain. I think the villain is really weak. But
sure.
But it's ultimately, it's just funny. It's a good movie. It's a good ride, and it feels very different. It's also really short. This movie goes by, bam! And I'm like, whoa. Yes.
It is an hour and 25 minutes, which is the same length as, I believe, the first two Naked Gun films.
Interesting, yeah. Because it's so much comedy per square inch. You can't.
It is. It is incredibly. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we'll talk about the gags soon, and that's going to be what everybody's talking about with this movie. But Tucker, let's do something interesting here. Let's talk about the story of a Naked Gun movie,
Yeah.
because I think that's a really interesting point to start out at, especially as I was just going through the movies and watching like Naked Gun 33 and a third, The Final Insult. I was like, that was the thing that stuck out to me. I was like, there's just something about like the in-universe story of what is happening that isn't as good as the first two, I would
Mm.
say, because that film is much more focused on like giving you two locations that were kind of just physical gags can happen. But I want to know what you take umbrage here with the story of Naked Gun 2025.
Uh, my my problem is that I think that there are just moments, especially when the villain or Pamela Anderson is involved,
Mm,
where the characters treat each other too seriously. Like
okay.
there are like romantic moments between the leads, or antagonistic moments between Frank Drebin and Michael Caine. What's the guy? Something Caine. Roger Caine. Roger Ebert. What?
Something like
Something
that.
like that.
Roger,
Uh,
it's
it's
something
Caine.
Kane. You're right.
Yeah.
I'll look.
But where there is no joke happening. They're just having like a police conversation or a villain protagonist conversation, and those are the
Hmm.
moments. Like there was a chunk in like the second half of this movie where I was just like I was really out of it.
Real. Okay.
And I'm gonna be seeing the movie again, and so maybe that was just
Oh,
me
sure.
like not paying attention, missing some background gags, which is very
Hmm.
possible. Though this movie isn't
Hmm.
particularly subtle; it calls
No,
attention to its gag.
it is
Um,
not so
I
at
was
all.
I don't know, giving the movie the benefit of the doubt, but there were
Sure,
moments where
sure.
I was significantly less engaged. Where I do think that the second chunk of the movie is less kinetic, less like filled with energy and jokes, as especially the like opening 30 minutes of this movie, which are just go go go, lots and lots of stuff, very quick jokes. The second half of the movie is longer setups for jokes and longer sequences that kind of draw
Yeah,
things out.
yeah.
And I think I'm just less into that when what again for me makes this movie so interesting, distinct, and exciting is that it is firing jokes. And so when you're getting these jokes that are a little bit more prolonged and last, I mean, for this movie, a long joke is like a 90-second joke.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
those definitely feel very different than the very quick jokes that are in the first half of the movie.
Yeah, I would even say that those feel different from like jokes that were in the first three films.
Yep.
I don't mean to keep harkening back to them too much, but I will do it just one more time here. In that, like, yeah, like the moments where in those three films, like Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley are like doing the hard-boiled detective and the dizzy dame sort of act. Like there are moments where they briefly, ever so briefly, of course, play that straight,
Yeah.
and then of course then it's like, and here's a joke for you
Yeah.
that undercuts everything that just happened, or
This
like,
movie is
and
played a lot more straight, the new one. On
uh,
average, I think.
I would say that it hits the same sort of balance, if
Sure. Fair
from
enough.
memory, I would say. Uh, yeah, yeah, and then like I think that the villain and everything like that is in a very similar lineage where like you get someone who is completely anonymous and has a vague criminal plot, and you just cast someone who looks evil, like Danny Houston, for example, who we are trained to be like that guy's a villain because he looks evil, and there's even a gag where because he has like a scar on his face the entire
Yeah.
movie, and for the movie I was like, does Danny Houston actually have a scar on his face? And I just never clocked that. But then, of course, there's a gag where he looks in the mirror, he sort of like takes it out, the prosthetic thing, and like readjusts it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's better right there.
Yeah.
But like that same thing is in a very similar lineage to me, in terms of the love interest and the villain,
Yeah.
and like how briefly moments can be played straight to sort of harken back to what the film is ultimately parodying.
Yeah,
And I
that's
think
something to
that's
talk about because like
yeah, I agree.
it, it's parodying. It's not really parodying Naked Gun because it's kind of in the exact same lineage of that, but it's
Right.
parodying like 60s and 70s detective movies. Which Tanner, when was the last time we watched like a detective movie in theaters?
See,
Like
this is my thing. This is
that's
my
what makes
thing.
this
Is
movie
that
feel weird. I'm like, I'm watching this. I'm like, you're hitting the same beats. It's still well done, so it's fine. But I'm
mm,
like, what does in the modern cinematic landscape, I do think it maybe would have been more interesting to do a parody of, and I don't even really know what I'm point to, but whatever the modern detective thriller cop movies are. Which ones would you even point to? What is the style of that? Like, that is something that seems to be largely gone from the modern cinematic
Yeah.
landscape. And so I understand why they can't parody that, but it does make this feel like an out of time movie, which is also within the movie. It recognizes that and plays jokes about that. The main thing being that Frank Drebin is still like thinks it's like 2001, which is
Yes.
really funny.
Well, I think that the movie, because this is something I clocked at the very beginning, is that it is utilizing cinematic language that is completely different from what the
Yeah,
first three
definitely.
would
Yeah,
be doing. Because even as those movies came out in like the late 80s and early 90s as like McTiernan action movies were the dominant form of like hard-boiled crime movies
yeah,
and things like that. Like they were still doing like cop show stuff,
sure.
like 70s cop show, like
Yeah,
Columbo style stuff. And this one is updating its touchstones for a modern audience.
yeah,
But like I think about it, and I was like, what are like the iconic like just a cop solving a crime and there's a bank
yeah.
robbery and there's like an evil billionaire, like we of course get these movies still, but I just think they sink into the malaise a little bit more. Like they are things that honestly probably don't even go to theaters anymore. They're things that probably go straight to VOD at this point.
Yeah, or streaming movies. And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that is another one of my criticisms of this movie. Um, I don't think it looks very good. It's a
Oh,
very
okay.
dark movie. It's very gray. Lots of overutilization of bloom lighting. It's not as colorful, I think, as I would want it to be to match that tone and to also just make itself stand out to me on the visual side, on like the cinematography and the lighting and things. It it felt more like a streaming thing, and that definitely kind of took me out of a few sequences where I'm like, I really wish this, because there are good background gags and there's things scrawled on the walls and people doing funny things in the background. I wish
Mm,
that the frames were more, in my mind, more designed to draw attention to those, because it felt like the shadows and the bloom lighting were kind of swallowing things up for me, and so I
yeah.
really was not sold on how this movie looked on the visual side.
Yeah, I thought it looked fine. Though I can definitely see moments where where those criticisms will like stand out to me a little bit more. And just generally, I kind of agree with your background gag point. I do think this movie tries to strike a new balance of
Make a
of
shoe about
sight
that.
gags like you mentioned, and the comedic stylings like the punchline style jokes and things like that. But there is not like as many just background stuff going on. And hey, maybe I missed it. Maybe I was too concerned about what was going on in the foreground and not the
Yeah,
background.
no,
But it
I
was like,
I
yeah,
don't think
the
there is.
first the first three movies really kind of made a bread and butter on that kind of stuff, especially when you're in the police precinct. And this film still does make that police precinct just like a nonsense world of
Yeah,
things going on all the
it's the
time.
funniest
Um,
area of the movie consistently.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I also on a certain level, I appreciate that they're not just like, okay, what do the first three movies do? Okay, let's just like hit those
Sure.
beats, hit those
Yeah.
beats, hit those beats. Because there's a couple moments where they do some of the classic gags, but reinterpolated. They'll do the, hey, how about this thing? He's like, yes, that is that thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Like the cigar, yes, that is, it appears to be a cigar. Or I can't remember what it is. I was trying to remember it after I walked out of the movie last night too. But when they're investigating the car crash at the beginning of the film, Paul Walter Hauser says like, this thing, Frank? And he's like, maybe later.
Oh,
Is it like pills? Does he say? He's
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because
implying that Frank like wants to pop pills right
yeah,
now.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's also within that same sequence, there's like, uh, drunk, and he's like, just a good like,
Oh, that's what it is. That's
just
what it
enough to keep me
is.
awake.
Uh huh.
It might have been
But
that. Yeah,
it's one of my favorite jokes. I think from the second film is when Ed says what could make a person want to do that? And Ed says, sex, Frank? And Frank says, maybe later, Ed.
yeah, yeah.
One of my favorite jokes in the entire, because it's so quick and so easy, but so
And
good.
there's a lot of
Um,
those wordplay jokes in there,
mhm,
so where Liam Neeson plays it very straight,
of
and
course.
this movie also then plays with like how awkward those are on occasion, where like
Hmm.
this characters would like they
Yeah.
just kind of sit there and stare, like, how do you react to this?
Hmm.
Which I think is decent,
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
But what area of the comedy do we want to dig into?
I mean, I have a list of all my favorites,
Good job.
but I think a lot of them are punchline stuff, not necessarily sight gag
Okay,
stuff.
sure.
Though I do like the running gags of him like snapping the phones in half or always being handed coffee and
Yeah.
things like that. I love those.
The
But
coffee
a
one is
lot of my
interesting.
favorites were the written ones.
The coffee one is interesting. It's
Uh-huh.
obviously very throughout the film. I initially thought the gag was that the cups were going to keep getting bigger, which I
Oh,
think would
sure.
have been really funny. I think they should have been handed like comedically large, like massive big gulp coffees at one point. They don't.
Uh-huh.
Naked Gun writers
No,
take
they
this
do.
into consideration.
They get handed the big one.
They get hit pretty big ones, but not comedically
Oh,
big
oh,
ones.
okay. All right. Yeah,
I'd be
they
here,
weren't big enough for this guy over here.
I look. I've seen bigger,
Uh-huh.
but I did like the coffee joke, especially
Yeah.
in the moments when uh, there's no possible way he could be handed a coffee, and a hand comes
Yeah,
up,
of
someone hands
course.
him a coffee. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
that's funny
Uh-huh.
because it couldn't happen.
That's right. Now this guy knows comedy right here.
Go start going through your list, and we'll talk about them.
Okay, here we go. Was what it's from the very beginning. It's when Pamela Anderson is introduced. Just an incredible like internal monologue line delivery from Liam Neeson is like, "And a bottom that made any toilet beg for the brown."
That's such a good. I think that's the funniest line in the movie. I laughed so hard at that.
And then
But
there's all the overlapping internal monologues of all the guys looking at Pamela Anderson. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
guys, do you mind? Yeah,
yeah.
that's good stuff.
Great moment.
There one of the a handful of like extended bits that are like pop culture references in this film. I wrote down there are three, I think. The first one that really occurs is the Black Eyed Peas bit with
Oh
him and
yeah.
Danny Houston, where he says the original title for the smash hit "Let's Get It Started."
Tanner,
Uh,
that's a really funny joke. He's like,
I
and
mean,
in the words of the Black Eyed Peas, whoa, whoa.
well, yeah, but then they button it with like, "Can you still say that word?" He's like, "In my club, you can,"
Yeah,
because
yeah, it's really
he's
good.
pitching in this club where like men can be men
Well,
kind of thing.
and that's the thing that I think is actually the modern core identity of this Naked Gun movie is
Hmm.
the idea that a lot of the things that cop show and movie humor and tone was based around are things that would now be considered incredibly politically incorrect nowadays. And
Yes,
Frank
absolutely.
Drebin doesn't realize that, leans into them on occasion, and then the movie pokes fun at him for doing that,
Of
for
course.
being out of touch, for still believing it's the 2000s. He's like, no, what do cops have to follow the law? It's like, yes, they always have to. And that's the thing that I think was the strongest through line, comedically
Hmm.
and tonally, and like that's the best satire in this movie. I think is because
I think
that's
so
the
too.
part that feels like it's fitting in most to modern day culture. Is part of the reason why cop dramas and cop comedies have gone by the wayside is the idea of being a policeman is a lot more controversial now than it was when those movies were being made in the 80s. It's not something as heroic now. It's something that has this more politically charged
Yeah, I
edge to
mean,
it.
there's even the moment where Liam Neeson like CCH Pounder tells him to keep his body cam on, and he's like, "All right, I will." Oh, wink.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's not even the cop stuff though. It's like, I mean, the one of the lines that Liam Neeson has at the end is sort of skewering his whole brand of action movies for the
Mm,
past 15 years,
yeah,
where he's like, "You're right. I guess old guys are the coolest and smartest and
yeah,
sexiest and most capable guys on the
yeah.
planet."
And that's great. That's the kind of
Yeah.
reflective humor that makes more sense in the modern day that I think this movie does really excel at and sets it apart from those other films.
Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, the hot dog bit or the chili dog
Yeah,
bit
yeah, that's good.
with,
Yeah.
with Busta Rhymes in the room when because but they're interrogating him and then they're playing the body cam footage and everything like that. But he keeps eating the chili dogs, and I think the because I thought that moment was lightly amusing until they got to he comes out of the bathroom and he's like going to eat another one, and Busta Rhymes like, no, no. don't do it. And at that point, Liam Neeson has like shrunk into the corner. And he's like, I had 5 more that day.
That's a great
So
moment.
good.
Yeah, and
So
also
good.
the behind the one-way mirror, all the cops are just like, they just like they
Yeah,
keep gathering and
they're
watching. Holy shit, what's going? And Tanner, so Weird Al Yankovic movie cameo in this movie because he's
Yep.
going to perform in the bunker. Whatever, doesn't really matter.
Right.
Was he in the toilet? I thought that was him that ran out when he's like,
It wasn't.
"Cop,
It
cop."
wasn't.
That looks so much like him though. Mm.
I know. Let's see here. I'll try. I'll try to go. One that is literally 2 seconds, but I had to write down because I thought it was so funny when he's getting the ads on the security footage. Because there's the gorilla nut stuff, and
Oh
the
yeah,
one that really got
the
me was
slime.
the muscle slime, muscle slapping on your
That was really
good
good.
stuff.
That was
I
really
like.
quick too. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I think there's also a strain of I think you should leave style
Hmm.
humor through this film. One of the biggest moments is when Danny Houston is giving his villain monologue, his presentation to all the evil billionaires. And they do this tangent about like Gill Fishmen or whatever,
Oh,
and
you're right.
the guy holds up a photo. Is like they have crab hands, and there's this one guy that goes,
I
"I've
know
met him."
that guy. I
Like
know that guy. Yeah.
yeah, I know they like there's just that strain of it. And I think it comes at the end as well when Danny Houston and Liam Neeson get into their fight and Danny Houston like gets punched once in the stomach and he's like, "Oh, my fucking belly. Oh,
You
my
put me.
tummy still really hurts."
Yeah, you're right. That is kind of. I think you should leave.
Yeah.
That's very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I also love a lot of the action comedy in this movie.
Mhm.
I think that opening sequence in the bank is really good.
Yeah.
Because Frank Drebin is ostensibly like a comedy god, where he can just like teleport and he has super strength and like
Yes.
he's this action hero that is also they're playing into the Liam Neeson is an old guy and can't do stunts, so they do a lot of
Mhm.
hard cuts so that you don't see him doing things. But
Yes.
the implication is, of course, that Frank Drebin has insane comedy abilities where he can just do whatever he
Uh-huh.
wants.
I
Um,
believe the power scalers call it Toon Force.
yeah. Um, and I also like, in terms of the action comedy moments, the moment when he's trying to escape from the club or whatever, and he like keeps punching the guy in the face, and there's just a line of people that he goes ding 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 like
Yes, yes.
and
Take a number.
then
Yeah.
one of the funniest moments in the movie is when so the real plot of the movie is that
Yeah.
the bad guy has the plot device that he twists a knob on, and it
Mhm.
makes everyone go crazy and start beating each other up. And that does happen near the end of the film. They're at a wrestling match, and everyone goes crazy. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't impact any of the main characters. Whatever,
Yeah.
who gives a shit?
Whatever.
And Frank Drebin is running out. He's like trying to save Pamela Anderson, whatever. And then
Uh-huh.
as like a swarm of people are coming at him, he like does this like slide, and he goes "Brrrr, brrrr, brrrr," and he like beats a rows of people's nuts like all the way down. I'm like, that's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a fucking crazy little moment. I loved it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. Now, I love PonziScheme.com Arena. I
That's
love
really
that.
good. Yeah, yeah.
I love that. Let's see the triple hit of the "Did you get all that" moment, which is ultimately aping like the scene from Mission Impossible Fallout, which I love. the,
Walk me
when
through that one.
Okay, so did you get all that? Because they kidnapped Kevin Durant, and he does this whole thing about like you're gonna become an influencer, and that life is hell. And then he gives up the information, and he's like, "Did you get all that?" And then of course the walls come down, and he's like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
that's
we got
right.
all
Yeah,
that."
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh. And then Liza Koshy is there, because she's a character in this movie, and she like gets Frank to admit something. He's like, "Did you get all that?" And then those walls fall down, and it's another group of people
Yeah, yeah.
busting Frank Drebin. But then he gets her to admit that she built the sets using like non-union labor or whatever. And then like a hologram disappears, and it's like, we're OSHA, and you're under arrest, Liza Koshy.
Yeah, yeah, that's good
That's
stuff.
yeah. Hmm.
And just seeing the walls fall down is always that's a great bit.
Exactly.
But
That's good
you're
stuff.
right. I guess that is like the Mission Impossible thing. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Anything else, Tanner?
Let's see. Hey, Dave Bautista's in this. He
Oh
pops
yeah,
in for a
yeah,
second for a little gag.
yeah.
Pretty fun. Pretty fun. Um, Yeah, and just the button of my belly is really good. And then there's the end credits gags as well. With everyone frozen, and then they're horrified by the reality of like people being frozen and they're being watched and they're in a movie. And Liam Neeson like pokes the letters on the screen and they bulge out. Good stuff. And of course, in classic Naked Gun fashion, you stick around and you watch the credits. There are just little text gags in there
Ah,
for you to see as well.
yeah, it was 11:40 at night. I had to go
That's you know what, that's fair enough.
home.
There weren't. I will say this: a little disappointed. There weren't as many as I had hoped. I
Hmm,
would say
sure.
there was maybe one every 90 seconds, whereas in the first one, in the first three, it's just like if you watch, you're like, there's four of them right there.
Yeah, sure.
There's another three right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. Really like it. I think there's an interesting conversation that we had a little bit at the top about like, where does the movie stand in terms of like what it is parodying and like how does it play in the modern era, but also like it's just so funny, it's so punchy, it is a joke a minute, it is exactly what you want from this, and I mean the hit rate is what would you say the hit rate was for you, Tucker? For me, it was like probably 90-95% of the jokes hit.
Yeah, it's probably closer to 80 for me, but still, like that's
Fair
amazing.
enough. Like I was just busting a gut this entire movie. I was
Oh
having a
no, your
great
stomach,
time.
Tanner.
I know
Dude,
my
you did
fucking oh
surgery.
my belly,
Oh.
my belly still really hurts.
Yeah, yeah. God,
Um,
if we do a Naked Gun movie and it's got Tim Robinson as like a
yeah,
as like a background character, oh.
that's good stuff, baby. Hey, you know what? Do Naked Gun 22 and a half again. I'm just down for more of
Two and a half.
these.
But isn't it
And
22 and a half now is what you're saying?
oh no, because it's 33 and a half and it two and a
33
half.
third.
Sorry, sorry, sorry. 33 and a half. Fuck, 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 fuck. My belly, my belly.
Well, on that note, let's give our scores and get
Yeah.
out of here.
Okay. Tucker, 7.5 out of 10. Good stuff all around. Probably like if we're ranking the entire series, probably the bottom of my list, on par with like a 33 and a third
Sure,
situation.
sure.
But really, really good time.
Yeah, I'll say 7.1 out of 10. Had a great time with it. Going to be taking my father and my brother to see it. And then
Of
I'll
course.
probably pick up on a few more jokes. Maybe I'll appreciate that section that was a little bit slower.
Yeah.
But yeah, very good movie. Very fun. It'll be interesting to see how the wider audience reacts to it. I feel like this comedic styling is kind of gone by the wayside, but I hope people find it.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think that the trailer has gotten good reception, but it's a matter of like, are people actually going to go see it, or are they just interested by the idea of this movie
Yeah.
more so than anything else? Anyway, I hope it does well. I really hope
Yeah.
it does well because it needs to usher in a new era of the theatrical comedy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.